You are standing outside. The wind hits your face like a wall of needles. The temperature is -30°C. You have no coat, no shelter within sight, and the sun is already setting. This is not a nightmare. This is Tuesday. For your ancestors, roughly 20,000 years ago, this was simply called winter. The last glacial maximum, the peak of the most recent ice age, gripped the Earth between roughly 26,000 and 19,000 years ago. Ice sheets 2 miles thick buried what is now Canada, Scandinavia, and northern Russia. Sea levels were 400 feet lower than today. Britain was connected to mainland Europe by frozen tundra. And yet, somehow, your ancestors not only survived this world, they spread across it. They painted caves. They raised children. They built tools so precise that archaeologists are still studying them today. How did they do it? That question is more interesting than you think. Start with your body. Right now, your skin is losing heat. In extreme cold, your blood vessels constrict, they pull warmth away from your fingers, your toes, your nose, and concentrate it around your heart, your lungs, your brain. You have a biological thermostat. And it is ruthless. It will sacrifice your extremities to protect your core. Your ancestors had this same system. But they also had something else. They had fire. Not metaphorically. Literally. Fire was the single most important technology your ancestors carried into the Ice Age. Archaeologist Dennis Sandgathe of Simon Fraser University spent years studying Neanderthal fire sites. And one of his key findings was that fire use was not consistent or accidental, it was deliberate, maintained, and deeply social. At sites like Kebarak Cave in Israel and Moldova in Ukraine, archaeologists found evidence of hearths used repeatedly, in the same central locations. Over thousands of years, your ancestors did not just stumble onto a burning tree. They built fire. They kept fire. They structured their entire camp around fire. And the camp itself was more sophisticated than most people picture. At the site of Medjugorje in Ukraine, dating back roughly 15,000 years, archaeologists uncovered the remains of houses built almost entirely from mammoth bones. The walls were constructed from stacked jawbones, the roofs framed with tusks, the floors dug slightly into the earth for insulation. These were not temporary lean-tos. They were engineered structures, some large enough to shelter an entire extended family group. Anthropologist Olga Sofer, who spent decades studying Upper Paleolithic sites across Eastern Europe, documented how these shelters showed clear planning: storage pits dug nearby, sleeping areas separated from work areas, tools organized by use. You did not simply huddle in a cave. Your ancestors built. But the cold itself was only part of the problem. The real enemy was time. Winter lasted longer than it does today. In some regions near the ice sheets, true warm seasons were compressed to just a few months. That meant your ancestors had a narrow window to store enough food to survive the long dark. And they used it with remarkable precision. Summer and early autumn were not seasons of rest. They were seasons of frantic, intelligent labor. Hunters tracked mammoth, woolly rhinoceros, reindeer, bison, and wild horse across the open steppe, what researchers today call the Mammoth Steppe. A cold, dry grassland that stretched from Spain to Siberia. Paul Martin of the University of Arizona and other researchers studying megafauna extinctions documented how Ice Age hunters organized cooperative drives, sometimes steering herds toward cliffs or rivers where animals could be killed in numbers. A single mammoth could provide hundreds of pounds of meat, dense fat, bone marrow, and hide, all of which were critical to winter survival. The fat matters more than most people realize. In extreme cold, your body does not just need calories, it needs fat specifically. Fat metabolizes into heat more efficiently than carbohydrate. It insulates. It produces the dense, slow-burning energy that keeps you warm through a night at -40. Anthropologist Tim Spector has written about the diets of cold-adapted populations and noted that traditional Arctic and subarctic peoples consistently obtained 60 to 70% of their calories from fat. Your ancestors likely followed a similar logic. Lean meat in winter was not enough. They sought fat. They prized fat. They rendered bone marrow, cracking open femurs with stone tools to extract the dense lipid inside as a dietary strategy, not a desperate fallback. And they stored. Storage pits dug into the permafrost acted as natural freezers. Meat packed into these pits in autumn could remain edible through spring. At sites across Siberia and Eastern Europe, archaeologists have found storage caches near mammoth bone shelters, sometimes containing the remains of dozens of animals. This was not opportunistic scavenging. This was deliberate resource management, the cognitive equivalent of stocking a pantry. Now pause and try to picture your ancestor on a winter morning 20,000 years ago. They wake up in a bone house. The fire has burned low through the night, and the air inside is still warmer than outside, but not by much. 2 or 3 other bodies are nearby. The shared body heat was intentional, not incidental. One person rises first and feeds the fire. The light shifts. A child asks for food. Someone cuts a strip of frozen mammoth meat and holds it near the flame. Outside, the landscape is white and still. The wind has dropped. To the south, a herd of reindeer is moving. You can see the faint shape of them through the low scrub at the ridgeline. 2 hunters are already pulling on their heaviest hides, lacing them tight with sinew cord. They carry spears tipped with flint points shaped and re-sharpened so many times that the stone is nearly worn through. This is not a catastrophe. This is a mourning. The clothing deserves its own moment. Archaeologist Ian Gilligan of the University of Sydney has spent years analyzing the evidence for Ice Age clothing and argues in his book that by the height of the last glacial maximum, humans were producing what he calls complex tailored clothing garments with fitted sleeves, hoods, separate leg coverings, and layered constructions designed to trap air and manage moisture. At sites like Sungir in Russia, dating back roughly 34,000 years, burial sites contained the remains of individuals whose clothing had been decorated with thousands of ivory beads, sewn into place so densely that the pattern could only have come from garments with specific, repeating shapes. The beads are what survived. The fur and leather long since decomposed. But the pattern of the beads tells you exactly what the clothing looked like. These were tailored garments, sewn, fitted, functional. Your ancestors did not wrap themselves in hides and call it a coat. They engineered cold weather clothing. Here's where the story turns. Most people assume the Ice Age was a period of retreat that humans pulled back, survived on the margins, and simply endured until the climate improved. The evidence says something almost the opposite. During the last glacial maximum, Homo sapiens expanded their geographic range. They crossed into the Americas for the first time, following ice-free corridors south from Siberia through Alaska. They pushed into northeastern Asia and populated regions that had no prior human inhabitants. They painted Chauvet Cave in southern France, some of the most technically sophisticated art in all of human history, around 36,000 years ago. Near the onset of severe glacial conditions, the Ice Age did not slow your ancestors down. It selected for the most adaptable, the most cooperative, the most cognitively flexible humans on Earth. Those who could not plan across seasons did not make it. Those who could not cooperate in groups sharing food, sharing fire, sharing knowledge about where the herds moved did not make it. The cold was a filter, and the humans who passed through it were, in some measurable sense, sharper for it. Anthropologist Joseph Henrich of Harvard University has argued at length in his work The Secret of Our Success that human survival is fundamentally collective, that no individual human brain contains enough knowledge to survive alone in any environment, and that what your ancestors were transmitting across generations was not just genes but an accumulating library of cultural knowledge. How to read the weather. How to tan a hide so it does not rot. Which plants, even in winter, held nutrition beneath the snow. Which direction the herd moved when the east wind shifted. None of this was instinct. All of it was learned, passed from elder to child around a fire, in a bonehouse, in the middle of a winter that lasted 9 months. You carry that inheritance right now. In your physiology, the brown fat deposits in your neck and upper back that generate heat when you are cold. In your cognition, a brain capable of planning months ahead, modeling future scenarios, and cooperating with strangers on the basis of shared goals. These are not accidental features. They are the legacy of 100,000 years of cold. The Ice Age ended. The ice retreated. Your ancestors emerged from it not diminished but transformed, spread across 6 continents. Armed with tools, clothing, language, and accumulated knowledge that no other species had ever assembled. You woke up this morning in a heated room. You did not think about the cold outside. You did not think about whether you had stored enough food. You did not think about fire. But somewhere in the part of your body that still pulls warmth toward your core when the temperature drops, something remembers. And it survived everything to get here. If you find this video helpful, please subscribe to my channel to support me and give me more motivation to create more videos. Thank you. Finally, this video is entirely created by a human, and the information in it is filtered from many sources in books, newspapers, and Google. If there are any details missing in the video, please leave a comment to let me know. Hello and see you in the next video.